Well, warmest greetings from the heartland of America, from a not really proud, but proud just to get the president's back, Chiefs fan from Kansas. Of course, the president took a lot of crap for saying, "You made the state of Kansas proud," and everybody, all the experts say, "Yeah, but the stadium's in Kansas City, Missouri, not Kansas." Well, dummies, the team draws probably more people from Kansas than it does from Missouri. So just wanted to give you a little fact check today, ladies and gentlemen. Really couldn't care less about the Super Bowl, but do care about getting the facts straight. And speaking of getting the facts straight, this first segment will be sponsored by EnergyMedFit.com. And Glenn Streeter has really turned me on to a great new technology that is very, very helpful. It's called pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. When you're injured, when you're diseased, the electromagnetic energy of those cells is diminished. The PERF, or the PEMF, it is a non-invasive treatment that uses electromagnetic waves to restore, ladies and gentlemen, cellular energy and heal yourself. Inflammation, circulation, healing, pain, mobility, cellular level impact. It's not a Band-Aid. Great stuff. If you want more information, you can go to EnergyMedFit.com, or you can also contact Glenn directly at his phone number. You can call or text him. You see it scrolling there along the screen below. So it's been tremendous. Healed me in a week from a groin injury that should have taken a month, and also healed Cynthia from a torn muscle in her calf in record time. So let's go and let's talk about this RH negative, ladies and gentlemen. RH negative blood. A lot of people don't really understand a lot about it. To be frank with you, I am far from an expert on it because there's just so much data out there, but yet it's very hard to get any really good data about RH negative blood. And yet, one of the most popular, if not the most popular video that we've ever put out of our 2500 was a video about a doctor talking about RH negative blood. So I don't pretend to be an expert, but I do scour the internet for the best information that I can. And we're going to bring you, I think, an interesting study and a powerful study about RH negative blood today. Is it of non-human origin? The site that most of the information comes from is ancientorigins.net. I neither endorse nor non-endorse them. I just want to be above board and tell you where most of the information comes from. So what is RH negative blood, and where does RH negative blood come from? Well, most people know about RH negative because health problems can occur for an unborn child of a mother with RH negative blood when the baby is RH negative positive. So if it's a negative mom, positive baby, it can cause problems where the mother's body actually starts rejecting the baby as an invader, as a parasite. Now, this has led many people to suggest that RH negative blood must then be of non-human origin, because if it's a human baby that's being rejected by a person with RH negative blood, they want to suggest that that means that the RH negative blood must not be human because it is rejecting normal human procreation. Now, there's as many theories as there are people that think about RH negative blood or have RH negative blood. And I'm not here today to give you the definitive theory. And if I don't share your favorite theory, or if I don't endorse your favorite theory, it's just because I go strictly by the facts, and the facts don't have feels. And if I hurt yours, your feels, that is, it's just because they're the facts. But I know a lot of people have their mind made up and they don't want to be confused with facts. Sorry, that's my job. It's much easier to fool you than convince you that you've been fooled, according to Mark Twain. But I've still got the harder job, and I'm still committed to doing it, ladies and gentlemen. So their theories range of the blood being from divine descent, some kind of blood of the gods, or a divinely chosen group of people, scientific, pseudoscientific explanations like interbreeding with extraterrestrials. And boy, here we go. Anytime we touch extraterrestrials, we really get on some feels. And speaking of that, tomorrow night, I will be the guest on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie. And we're going to talk about, we'll probably talk a little bit about the Mandela effect, because George always wants me to follow up on that. We did a show on that years ago. And George always wants to follow up on their latest biblical research, so I'm sure we'll be doing that too. And then we're going to talk about the Tic Tac UFOs, some information that you may not have heard about those Tic Tac UFOs. And then we're going to talk about the idea of intraterrestrials versus extraterrestrials. So if you want to stay up late to get mad at me, well, Coast to Coast AM tomorrow night will be the place that you'll want to be. Now, the majority of scientists have concluded, to the chagrin of many people in the conspiratorial lunatic movement, that this is not good. But most scientists say that Rh negative is just a normal random mutation. And this explanation does seem to be the most consistent with the available evidence and able to withstand Occam's razor, which basically says that all things being equal, the simplest explanation is usually the best one. But that kind of sits hard with some people in the conspiracy movement. That's because, well, we have itching ears. And we want people to tell us things that are exciting. We want people to tell us things that are ridiculous. We want people to tell us things that are crazy. And we don't want to hear that it's just a normal thing. We don't want to hear things that are mundane. And unfortunately, folks, and really fortunately, most things are mundane. There is not an ET behind every bush, ladies and gentlemen. I hate to tell you. But when a woman who is Rh negative is pregnant with a child that's Rh positive, as we just talked about that, the mother's body will actually create antibodies, and her body essentially becomes toxic to the child. Looks like the mother's body's rejecting the baby. It's led people to suggest that the reason is incompatibility based on the mother and child being of different species. Is it possible? I guess it is. Others suggest that there's certain lineages with the gene for Rh negative blood, and they're merely special in some way and are not meant to be mixed with lineages that are predominantly Rh positive. Ooh, interesting. Let's get into this. Most of you who have looked at all at Rh negative blood have read of the Basques. And the Basques are in northern Spain, and they have the highest incidence per capita. That means per the number of people that there are. They have the highest ranking, the highest incidence of Rh negative out of any population in the world. That's interesting. They also speak a non-Indo-European language. They also have genetic markers that predate the rise of agriculture. And this has led a lot of people to speculate that Rh negative blood is related to the Cro-Magnon or Cro-Magnon. It's actually a French word. So Cro-Magnon in my horrible French would be more likely the real pronunciation, and that they go back to the upper Paleolithic period in Europe. So questions about the Basque people. Now, a more exotic idea is that the Rh negative gene represents a separate branch of humanity that intermarried with the branch that came out of Africa. So you got basically this northern European branch of humanity, one branch of humanity. Then you've got this other branch of humanity that moved out of Africa. So some people believe that the African branch of humanity began to intermarry with the northern branch of humanity. And what the problems that we have with Rh negative pregnancies are a result of intermixing of, yes, the same species, but maybe a different branch of the same species. And many other people believe that Rh negative blood descendants are of the Hyperborean race or Hyperborean race, who some think was the original human race. Now you can see the obvious racial implications of this. Because basically, what this is stating is that you got white folks from the north and black folks from Africa, and they got together and did what folks who get together often do when they naked, and you got the RH negative situation rearing its head. Interesting. And just a little bit more about the Hyperboreans. In Greek, they're a race of giants who again lived beyond the north wind. They lived in a land that was supposedly perfect, with the sun shining 24 hours a day, and that suggests that possibly they lived within the Arctic Circle, because obviously in the Arctic Circle, midnight, you have sun 24 hours a day parts of the year. Now, Admiral Byrd also saw something like that in the Antarctic Circle. So that's another interesting wrinkle. If the Hyperboreans or the Hyperboreans, if they were involved, if they really were from the North Pole and they lived in a land that was perfect, beautiful, sunshine 24/7, and Admiral Byrd reported the same type of situation on the South Pole of the Antarctic, now you've got some really interesting speculation and really interesting fodder for even more podcasts. So it's very interesting, very, very thought-provoking. And you just wonder, oh, there's so many things you can wonder with that, but just a nice little throw, a little aside having to do with Rh negative blood. And I admittedly tried to put things in here that you haven't heard of before. And here's another one of them. Is it just mundane genetics, and how does sickle cell fit in? Now, we just talked about race, sickle cell, predominantly black people disease. So when you're talking about Rh negative, it can also be explained in terms of just rather mundane, normal human genetics and natural selection. Many scientists believe that Rh negative blood has some sort of selective advantage that outweigh the negative consequences of having Rh negative blood. Sure, Rh negative blood can be a problem if you have sex with the wrong person and you wind up with a baby that is rejected by that blood and you have terminated pregnancies. That's tragic. But yet, here's an example: sickle cell and malaria. Sickle cell anemia is a disease that kills lots of black people. It's not a good disease. It's not a fun disease, but the large percentage of the population in West Africa, where malaria is very common, carry the gene for sickle cell. Turns out that if you have the gene for sickle cell, you are immune to malaria. Interesting. So, do you want to get sickle cell? No. But if you live in West Africa, you're much more likely to get malaria. Malaria is something that you worry about 24/7, 365. Sickle cell, not so much. So if you live in a land that's predominant, that where malaria is a huge danger, then having sickle cell, which makes you immune to malaria, is a competitive advantage as far as producing fertile offspring. And that's what the whole game is. If you get out of spirituality, it's who can produce the greatest number of fertile offspring that survive. So sickle cell giving immunity to malaria, even though sickle cell is harmful, even deadly, carrying the sickle cell gives you an advantage over the folks that don't have sickle cell because they're not immune to malaria. And because it comes from a population that's in a place that's known for malaria, then the incidence of sickle cell is higher because more people with sickle cell survive. And more people with sickle cell then survive to have children and pass it on. You get it? If you're in West Africa and you ain't got sickle cell, you probably dying of malaria. And because you're dying of malaria, then your genes are not being passed on. But if you do have sickle cell and you don't die of malaria, guess what? You get more offspring and your genes get passed on. So what is it theoretically, possibly that Rh negative makes you less likely to get. Interesting stuff. And there is a disease. I'll let you look that up for your homework. Now, here's a question. We're talking about environmental advantage. Could it be that some populations do contain a higher occurrences of Rh negative, not because they're a unique lineage, not because they're a special branch of humanity, but because they're adapting to a region with a higher prevalence of a certain parasite or disease? And there is one in the Basque community, and I'll allow you to look that up on your time as homework. And prevalence of the gene could very well be because populations originating in an environment with similar selective factors rather than being of a common lineage. So it could be just that there's something that Rh negative gives you an advantage over, and there is, and you can look that up, homework. So now we get to the sexy part. This is what everybody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to know, but could it be ETs, Jeff? You know, everybody doesn't have Giorgio's haircut, but everybody wants to come to the same conclusion these days. Aliens. Whatever the question is, the answer is aliens. Lately, it seems. But, ladies and gentlemen, the fact of the matter is, and I know facts can be stubborn things, and a lot of people don't like facts because they get in the way of their opinions, but Rh negative gene is clearly a variation of an otherwise completely human gene. It's not alien, it's not ET, it's not UFO. All of the investigation, all of the experimentation, all of the clinical empirical studies show that the Rh negative gene is a variation, a mutation of a completely human gene. Now, unless we go back to Ingyil and Inky and all the other people that broke us, and poor us, we're so broke we can't be fixed. Poor us, we got original sin. Bullshit is the technical term for that. You don't have original sin. You got the spark of divinity within. You're divine. You're sovereign. You're free. You were not constructed by some ET, broke, busted, and disgusted when you was constructed. No. You were created perfect, ready to go, wall-to-wall, treetop tall, locked and loaded. Don't let anybody tell you you've got original sin and you need salvation and they've got the only savior in town. Don't let anybody tell you that no matter what you do, aliens created you to be dumb. Aliens created you to be a worker. Aliens created you to be a slave. Again, the technical term for that, the scientific term is bullshitimus. Or as Tracy would probably say, bovine scatology. It's not true. Now, unless the Rh negative gene was specifically engineered by extraterrestrials from a pre-existing human gene, it's unlikely that it comes from anything other than a Homo sapien. If there are ETs, and I do say if, Jeff, how can you say if? Because we don't have any solid empirical objective proof, not one shred that there is such a thing as an extraterrestrial. We don't know. There's no proof. And I know that it's horrible to your ears for somebody from our genre, but I ain't from your genre. I'm from the unindoctrinated genre, and you're from some other genre, truther, new age, new cage, alternative information, whatever. I'm from the unindoctrinated genre, and you're welcome to join me because only you can unindoctrinate yourself. But if it was an ET, and if there are ETs, they're very, very likely to have a completely different biology and genome than human beings. Think about it. If we're from here and they're from there, why would they have DNA? Why would they have a genome similar to ours? And it might even be based on something else like RNA or some other exotic genetic storage that never evolved on Earth or wasn't created for the Earth people. If you read my book, Serpents and Doves and the Garden of the Gods, which we also did on Coast to Coast AM, you'll see that there were two species created here on earth. One, an upright reptilian species. That's right. It's in the Bible, and they were created before man. And an upright humanoid human species like us. Neither one of them was ideal for the earth. So you know what they did? They merged. Oh, think about that. Let's say that young Pharaoh's right. And I'm not sure. He might be right, but he might have it reversed. Let's say that young Pharaoh's right, and we won't even go into the details, but one of us, whites or blacks, is mainly monkey-based or mammalian-based, and one of us, blacks or whites, is mainly reptilian-based. That's his theory. And he might be right, because you got the majestic serpents, which were the reptilian race, and you got the Elohumans, which were the non-reptilian race, let's just say. And they were combined by, it seems, our creators, because there were Elohuman factors that were ideal for surviving on Earth, and there were reptilian factors, majestic serpent factors that were ideal for surviving on planet Earth. Do you see? Just a pure majestic serpent, upright reptile hominid, a reptilian, if you will, had some advantages, had some disadvantages. That form in the judgment of the creator said, that one's not going to make it long term. Not the best suited for life on planet Earth. Then there was the Elohuman, the non-reptilian, the human one. Got some advantages, but probably wouldn't last long term on planet Earth. Not ideal for planet Earth. But if we took the reptilian and the human, if we took the majestic serpent and the Elohuman and took parts from each and put them together, now we got a highly adaptable, fantastic being that is ideal for life on planet Earth. Now, that comes from the biblical text and straight from the biblical text and nowhere but the biblical text. But I'm faced with evidence and I'm faced with text, and I deal with the evidence and I deal with the text. But it could be that blacks came from one, whites came from the other. But the point of the matter is they amalgamated and became one, and we need to as well, because it's a lot better to figure out how to live together than having to figure out how to kill each other off. Because remember, it's a big plantation, and I'm oversimplifying, but the blacks are in one slave house and the whites is in another slave house, both on the plantation. The enemy is in the big house, the plantation house. Now, all the blacks could kill all the whites could kill all the blacks. Great. You're the only slaves left in the plantation. Congratulations. Now you got to do all their work and your work. The enemy is not the other people in the other slave house. The enemy is the people in the big house, the elite. If you want to fight, if you want an enemy, there you go. There's your enemy. And as it relates to RH negative, could it be? Yeah, it could be. But the idea that there's any, and I know this is going to make you mad, the idea that there's any true extraterrestrial and earthling hybrids is super, super unlikely. In fact, if you weren't of an open empirical mind, you would say it was impossible. Because the idea of what it takes to live here and what it takes to live even on Mars is so drastically different that it would be a completely different life form. Carl Sagan, who was on our side, by the way, Carl Sagan, author of Dragons of Eden, he was on our side. He was a great scientist, Nobel Prize winner. I think he also won the Pulitzer. Not sure on that. But he said, and listen to this, and I know it makes you mad, and I know it doesn't go along with your favorite YouTube channel, and I know it doesn't tickle your ears, but Carl Sagan said, it would be easier to make a human tulip hybrid than to make a human extraterrestrial hybrid. Think of that. And I know it's not what you want to hear. I know it's not sexy. But truth isn't always sexy. And if you get the idea of what truth really is and learn to deal with truth and manage truth, then you don't get caught up in sexy stupidities. That's why, folks, the unlikelihood and uncertainty of the other options make the explanation that Rh negative blood is a mutation in some populations due to a selective advantage is probably the most likely option. And it is the one that easily survives the application of Occam's razor. And I know you don't want the simplest. I know you don't want the easiest. I know you want it to be aliens. Big hair, aliens. But if this blood type was because of another human species, let alone extraterrestrials, there's many unnecessary assumptions that are difficult to verify. That's science talk for impossible, and they must be made. The evidence currently points towards little more than an ordinary mutation as the cause of the Rh negative blood phenotype. And if you want to listen to my old, and I'll link it in this video, my old hour talk, I think hour, a little bit more than an hour, with the doctor about Rh negative, I think you'll find it very, very interesting. Maybe not as sexy as Anunnaki, maybe not as sexy as created in a lab and screwed up a bunch of times, maybe not as sexy as fiction, but still facts. So the question asked, is Rh negative blood of non-human origin? Nah, most likely not. And even if you don't like that, we stick with the facts. Even if you don't like that, we stick with what is known and what we can prove and what we can verify. And please don't tell me and write me, well, this guy says and that girl says and my mama, my pastor, my priest. I don't care. Facts are stubborn things, and so are many of you, but I'm not listening to you. I'm listening to the facts until the facts change. And if there's anybody walking on this planet that has shown that they can make a change in their beliefs when the facts warrant so, you're looking at him. So don't come barking up my tree with your stories. I'll say, oh, cool story, bro. And I'll move right along because we got to have more than cool stories. And if you want to really make it in this life, you need to give yourself every bit of advantage that you can. And one of the ways that I do that for myself every single day, 24/7, 365, literally, is to wear the Mystech bracelets, ladies and gentlemen. This is the new sun bracelet, calibrated to the frequency of the sun. This one happens to be the new 5G mastery bracelet. This is really 17 bracelets. It looks like one, but it's really 17. Go to jeffreydaugherty.com, click on the Mystech logo, and you could get high consciousness on demand with Fluffy too. But what I really want you to do now is to be tuned to the Earth's original resonance. Have your cells in harmony. And you can also look at the blood test on this channel and see that Mystech really does work. You get a 20% off when you buy through jeffreydaugherty.com. Click on that Mystech logo or click on that Mystech tab. Remember, tomorrow night, Coast to Coast AM, I believe I'm the first guest, and we're talking about extraterrestrials, intraterrestrials, Mandela effect, new biblical research, all kinds of cool stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. The Huan tulip would be great to smell like a rose all day. Little bit of levity. I like the levity. Nika Domi, Mind Your Wealth. You should check out her channel. I asked my family doctor, who I've had for 20 years, what blood type I am, and they said they don't have that on record. Nika, you know that's some bullshit right there. How can they not tell you your own damn blood type? What you have to do is go on the online, and I wish I remember the one that Jay Campbell uses and that I use. I can't remember right now, but if you email me, I can tell you. You can get your blood work done right online. They'll approve it. They send you the paperwork. You take it to, Quest or whatever, and they'll do your blood work and they'll tell you there. So you can do that. You can definitely do that. My blood test didn't say so, but maybe it was wrong. And a lot of people, they want to be Rh negative. They think it's sexy. I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. And I so agree with Tracy. Genre free is the way to be, ladies and gentlemen. Emmy from Emmy Evolving, who we've had on the show, she has a great channel. Check her out as well. Emmy says that hers doesn't read as negative, but she has all the struggles complete with copper issues in her blood. I just happen to be wearing the copper Mystech bracelet, which is also imprinted to the frequency of copper. And what's this? This is the colloidal silver Mystech bracelet. So I get all the benefits of colloidal silver without having to take it. Wow, that's amazing stuff. Thank you. So she still has that. She's told that she might be a weak positive or a hidden negative. Very, very interesting. The earth, it's the universe. Can it be possibly? You said something that makes me think. That's what I'm here for, TT, is to make you think, and we appreciate you and keeping your head up as you face through your challenges, and we're on your side. Priscilla says it makes no sense. Not sure what, but there's a lot of things that don't. And I like this. The genomes would be incompatible to Earth. And they would, but you can't say that in these genres because people get all mad at you. But this person says, and that person says, and Gaia showed, and I saw it and I heard it. Folks, facts are stubborn things. And so are you. Wrap your mind around it. Open your mind. Why can't you say, if you really believe that Rh negative is from aliens, and you really believe that, okay, try the exercise of holding in your mind the thought of Rh negative might not be from aliens. Learn how to do a little Aristotle on your own ass, because Aristotle said the mature mind can hold a thought in it without having to agree with that thought. Learn to have what my friend Magenta Pixie calls mental elasticity. I can think that Tracy Dyer is a jerk, and I can think that Tracy Dyer is super cool at the same time. And the cool thing about that is, and I'm obviously not talking about Tracy Dyer, but let's say that I say, this side of my brain says ETs aren't real. This side of my brain says ETs are real. So that means that I can receive all the information from ETs are real, and I can receive all the information from ETs aren't real. But if my whole brain said ETs aren't real, then I would be resistant to any ETs are real information. And I look stupid. And can I help you? Some of you do look stupid. You do. Some of you just are, but some of you aren't, and you just look it because you're so damn sure of things that nobody can be damn sure about. Do yourself a favor. The earth is flat, and that's it. Don't do it. The earth is round, and that's it. Don't do it. The earth might be round. The earth might be flat. We may not know what the earth is now. You can receive all types of data. Why do you want to cut yourself off? I only like blonde women. Well, what happens if you're not married, of course, and a really good-looking brunette comes up, but you only like blondes? Come on. Think. You've got to do it, ladies and gentlemen. And Delaney knows for a fact that she's a Zulu reptilian. I don't think I'm going to argue with Delaney about that. Barry says he's confused. Well, that a lot of times happens when you start thinking for yourself. Don't worry, it will go away as you continue to study. Tarot Tribe Casadega. Why would people be so destroyed to find out extraterrestrials don't exist? Big effing deal. LOL, people, as long as my consciousness survives death, I'm happy to be sovereign and free. I like that. It's true. It's awesome. And she's 100% right. 100% right. What else we got? No more 1,000-year lifespan, or never was that long. That's interesting. Let's see. That's why we have a reptilian cortex. Exactly. And, it's funny how the reptilian cortex is the oldest part of the brain. It's the base of the brain. We call it the low brain because you're talking low, high, just in a direction. But the reptilian cortex is the oldest part of our brain, which makes perfect sense if the oldest life forms, according to the biblical text, were the majestic serpents. They were created first. Now, they were created 5 verses in Genesis before the Elohumans were created, but who knows in real years how long those 5 verses could have been, how long in between them. So it makes sense, even if it is allegorical teaching, the Bible, and of course you know how I feel about the Bible. Even if it's just allegorical teaching, it's showing us, yeah, the reptilians did come first. That's why your reptilian cortex is the oldest. Interesting, powerful stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Vanna doesn't need much food. She eats 1 meal a day. That's the great way to health. No doubt about it. Let's see. She also uses the energy in her environment to heal her body. Elites are middle management, Tracy. I was thinking that the Old Testament enthusiasts were middle management. Middle management. I don't know. Very, very interesting way to think about stuff. Very, very interesting things to talk about. And Tracy says the more that we learn about Earth, it seems to be like an insane asylum. And there's no doubt that the inmates are definitely running the asylum. I didn't see it, Tracy. I watched bits and pieces of the Super Bowl, so I don't know if there actually was. Thank you very much for that, Margaret. I appreciate it. I'm glad that you're here. The talks are a lot more fun when you are here. Question everything. What a great mantra. Glad that this is helpful to you, especially since you do have that type of blood. As long as you have a good heart, I don't care if you're purple, says Jet Kufu. Thank you so much. And I agree 100%. Let's see. Tracy's ex-wife is Rh negative. Does that explain a few things to you? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know. I think we all have some sort of influence from outer worldly origins, probably because you've been programmed to think that way. But if you want to think that way, that's great. Just make sure you also can hold more than one thought in your head at a time. Are they ETs? No, says Laura P. Are they more reptilian? In my experience, yes. Could be. Could be. And I agree with this. It's just another story. It's just another story. I like it. What else we got here? Robert Hayes, did I dye my hair? No, I'm taking C60 Purple Power and it's turning my hair back brown. And you can go to c60purplepower.com, use the code TCW10, like the Christian Whistleblower, and you get a 10% discount. Let's see. It's also lights too. Let's see. Well, dang. Jeff had hidden bling. What do you mean hidden bling? I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, whoa. Is the moon one I want? What? Oh, blinging with Mistech, and it was under my, yeah, okay, I gotcha. Tracy's dad has a missing vertebrae. That's interesting. If anybody finds it, you know where it belongs. So, folks, that's my contribution to the Rh negative discussion. I will link the discussion with the doctor about Rh negative, and we will make that available to you. And you can listen to him. He's very, very smart. He's a doctor, and he gives some very good information on that podcast, and I'll definitely link it up. There's no video. It's just an old radio show. The sound is not the greatest, but he's a very, very smart guy, great guy. We used to do comedy together, so he's also a versatile guy. So check it out. I'll link it on the I'll link it in the box below, and I'll link it on the end of the video when it has those videos come up. It'll be there, so you can do that, ladies and gentlemen. Crow, yeah, I've actually had Crow. I've asked him a couple times if he wanted to talk about RH negative, and even though he does have a lot of information, he says he doesn't really have enough information to feel comfortable talking about it, and I understand that, and that's just the way it goes. And just in case you were wondering, Vanna has pointy teeth. Very, very interesting. So the other question would be, Vanna, do you bite? And you know what? That's kind of personal information. But on that note, we'll leave it right there. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. We're here to make sure you know that you do not have original sin. You've got the spark of divinity within. You are not full of sin. You don't need salvation. You don't need their Savior. You're divine. You're sovereign. And you're free. I'd love to talk to Lisa Renee. I've been trying to. She's been on a sabbatical. If you know Lisa Renee, I'd love to talk to her. And folks, we are the last generation of real humans, but we're all we need because things aren't getting worse. They're getting better, and we're here to make damn sure they do. For Tracy, our moderator extraordinaire, I'm Jeffrey Daugherty, the Christian Whistleblower. And along with Cynthia, we salute you for being here. Seeking after truth. You're a winner. And we're going to make history, not write history, by making a better today and rolling right in to a better tomorrow. We can do it. We can do it if we just get busy.